Hi, and welcome back to my very different workshop. What a trip it's been. Ordered in August, delivered last Monday, commissioned Thursday, Friday, and then events transpired against me to be able to get to it until this morning, would you believe? I know, it's been dire. I've been dying to just cut something, anything. Well, here it is. Oh, you can't see. Let me bring you round. And here she is. The hammer. Well done, Sam. All but bang on. B3 winner with the 1200mm sliding table. What a beast. And it's required quite a few changes in the workshop. And there's a few more changes to come. I'll come to them in a tick. So I've gone for the option with the spindle moulder built in. I've never owned a spindle moulder before. Heard all the horror stories about them. Watched loads about them online and read loads of articles. And the difference in price between having it built into the saw and having a freestanding unit, which I haven't really got the room for, that meant it was about half price. And I've got one now. I think that option might have cost me an extra 1,200 quid, I think. And if you compare that against the freestanding models, you could get an Axminster, then about half price. So I think it was worth taking advantage of the opportunity to have one, and I can experiment with it when the special offers for the cutter blocks come up. So the sliding table means that I've had to bring the saw this way and the bench that way. I knew I was going to have to do that, and it feels like it's worked out better than I thought it was going to. So by keeping the bench back, I've now got this height difference to deal with. My old bench was the same height as my old table saw. This one's now lower, so it doesn't quite act as a 8 feet table, so I've got an alteration to make there. That fits quite well. Cool, it should do too. I planned for that. I've got some schmuzz here on the floor, so I can't get nicely behind it at the moment, but I will be able to when I use this. Instead of this. I've got some adaptations to make to my Incra fence and scales to enable them to run in this slot. But the heads that they supply, these blocks are available off the Hammer website, so I can purchase those and then see if I can mod the Incra 5000 onto the top of that. The biggest challenge is going to be fitting my Incra TSLS back onto this. So I've got the XL, which will accommodate up to a 33-inch deep table. Unfortunately, this is a 37-inch deep table. So after scouring the Incra website and finding out that they don't make a 37-inch model, I'm going to have to see if I can find some extruded aluminium to replace the saddle or the bridge with. I've got a little something in mind that I think will work. My initial thoughts after seeing this unit was I'm not going to keep it at all. And then after using it to cut some pieces up this morning and feeling how well it slides, I thought I might keep it, but I'm really not overstruck with that type of fence. I miss my Incra fence, the Incra gauge, my Jessam hold downs, and believe it or not, I really miss my crown overhead shark guard. I feel quite unprotected and quite naked with this in place. But those things are going to have to wait for a bob or two where I catch up on the work that I've got to do. But they will come, I promise you. If it's humanly possible, my Incra system's going back on top of this table. So let's cover off why did I choose a machine from Felder, and in particular why did I choose the hammer. I chose Felder as a company first and foremost because of the interactions that I had with them around the planer thicknesser. I like the way they dealt with my queries. I like the way they responded to my queries and to my requests. I particularly like the way they tried to accommodate everything that I asked for, particularly with the saw and with the planer. So I was very comfortable dealing with them. The price range of their products within the hammer range was a little of a stretch, but it wasn't out of my comfort zone. I didn't even look at the Felder range after seeing the prices of them. I felt that they were too much for such a small workshop and a small operation as I've got here. The capacities of this saw far exceed the capacities of my old saw. So the maximum depth of cut on my old saw was 80mm, and depth of cut on this saw is 104mm, I believe. It's a 315mm blade. The sliding table saw, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, is merely an extension of and a move up the ladder from using a mitre slot and a mitre slide. So these are the two parts available as an optional extra with the B3 to negate the need for you having to buy a mitre sled. Here's the head unit, and as you can see it's totally devoid of any markings whatsoever because they're on the table. So this part slides into the channel that's in the sliding table, and it slides up to a fixed stop. So you can just see the little bolt and washer in there, and that unit slides up so it's nice and tight against that stop. In conjunction with that fixed stop, there's this flip stop here. When you want to use the crosscut fence, you bring this stop up, and again the engineers calibrated this in conjunction with this. So you take the Felder fence and that slides up against the stop there, so you're guaranteed it won't foul the blade, and you push this head unit up against that stop and pull it back against that one. So as soon as this is locked in place, you're away. Because of that pre-calibrated flip stop, I've got my 90 degrees set, and I've also got a scale that's a stick-on scale that's on the sliding table itself, so that I can twist this around, and I've got my presets, so 25 degrees, and I'm away. Just a slightly different way of working. So this is the area at the back of the saw where the two Incra rails will be, and that is obviously perfect for storage as it was before. If you remember, I did have a MDF cabinet there with 3 drawers in it, so it's my intention to make another cabinet, but this time out of that cabinet grade plywood that I use for the drawers for the MFT, and I'll try to utilize, or it's my intention to utilize all of the space that's here, both for the saw accessories as well as other items. I've the dust extraction to make a bit neater and a bit tidier, sort out the electrics, and another challenge is going to be to make a far better mount for the crown guard than I had before. Again, if you remember, the crown guard was sat on top of a 28mm piece of MDF, but it was gradually flexing, and the saw with the crown guard was starting to dip. So I may need to incorporate a piece of sheet steel or something a bit stronger to ensure that it doesn't flex. So the unit is shipped with a blade, which is fabulous. It's a 48 tooth universal blade. the term universal really means to me it's okay for most and not really very good at anything. So I've ordered a 24 tooth rip blade for the saw, because as this is a completely different saw, I have no blades for it. Good planning on my part, don't you think? So I've got a 24 tooth rip blade coming, as the majority of my work is ripping down hardwoods. And I'll use this for a crosscut blade. 42 tooth will do quite nicely for crosscuts for the minute. To change the blade, you make sure the table's slid all the way to the right, and then there's a little cover here with a lock, and you slide this all the way out to the left. And obviously I've put the camera right in the way, so I can't do that, but you get the idea. And as soon as you slide that out, it auto-isolates the unit, so it can't be started now. And then spanner and Allen key, undo that, pop it out, pop on your new blade, put it all back in place again, slide the blade guard back, lock it back in place, and the unit's now live. So I'm very pleased with that. The other opportunity I took was to have the unit enabled for a dado blade. My old unit wouldn't take one. This one will now, but once again, I've never owned a dado blade. So I've got a bit of experimentation to do and a bit of research, and make sure I've taken all of the adequate precautions, because with both a dado blade, a new table saw, and a spindle moulder, I'm rather attached to my fingers and hands as they are, and I'd rather not be separated from them if I can help it. The other impact this new table saw is going to have is I need to find out where's the best place to put the camera again. So a little bit of trial and error might be involved. Hopefully it won't have too much of an impact on your enjoyment of my woodworking antics. One thing I'd like to assure you of, though, is that I have no intention of turning this channel into a sliding table saw focused channel. There are plenty of others out there which I've been lucky enough to find, and some of them are extremely good. I do intend to explore and discover the benefits and the weaknesses of having a sliding table saw in the shop. Hopefully there are more benefits than weaknesses or downsides. And they'll pop up from time to time, but I do at the moment intend to continue with the sporadic tool reviews and seemingly unrelated projects that you've become accustomed to by now. Hopefully that is one of the attractive elements of subscribing to the GT Woodshop. So that's it for my first initial impressions. It's definitely not a review, it's just a first impressions. I need to work with it a bit now and become accustomed to it. We need to form our relationship. So for now, thank you very much indeed for watching, and I hope to see you very soon. Normal service will be resumed shortly. Ta-ra.